streaming right now and it's recording every word.
Okay, everybody be mindful. We are recording. Oh, look at that. My gosh, that's freaky. You good, Rosanna?
Yes, we are good. Thank you.
So I need to keep the mic on, obviously.
Yes, please. I won't speak unless you ask,
Unless we
unless
ask
you
you.
ask me a question.
All right. Do you want to get off the phone then, off the FaceTime now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
They're getting, huh? Without a password?
Yeah, it's not very good.
What is it? Stack?
I
Thank you,
need.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are
One.
live streaming.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you sent me a message saying unmute. Okay, I guess we're there.
Yes, sir.
The meeting of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority, February the 11th, 2026 is now called to order. I would ask you to stand for the invocation. Commissioner Moore will lead that and Commissioner Cole will lead the pledge.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunities you have given us in this life. Thank you for the many blessings that you've given us in Nassau County in Florida. Dear Lord, we ask you to look over our first responders. We ask you to look over our sailors, airmen, Marines, and please look over Coast Guardmen too. And we ask for your wisdom and discernment in our negotiations tonight. Amen.
Join me in the pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm going to ask the port attorney if she would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner Hill? Here. Vice Chair Moore?
Here.
And Chair Null.
Here. Thank you. I would like to welcome everybody here tonight. I know it takes time out of your busy evening to come and sit with us, but we do appreciate it. Lewis, good to see you tonight. Ms. Osborne, it's good to have you here tonight. We don't have any non-agenda comments, so we'll move right into the approval of the minutes for January 14th, 2026 and January 28th, 2026, the special meeting. Motion approved. Motion approved. Second. All in favor of approval? Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving right along into the port operators, or excuse me, the attorney's report.
The only thing I have to report is already on the agenda. I sent 2 letters that I received from the port operator attorney regarding the paying for the appeal. 2 letters. One has to do with, they separated out the 2022 and 2023 tax years, and 21 and 24 tax years, and then those 24. So I need to call Amy Colson and make sure that I'm understanding it correctly. But it looks to me that they have, the port operator is going to pay the legal expenses for the appeal. Now, they're reserving their rights, that's just standard language in case they find that they don't have to at some point. But with regard to the 22 and 23, as you know, the reason that we lost those, the courts that was liable for the taxes for 22 and 23 is because they did not file a lawsuit challenging the denial of the tax exemption for 2023. And because of a technical issue in the statute, it also attaches to the 2022 tax years. And so, and we're going to have to consider whether or not reported to in the letter, which is a public record, Amy Colson with Savage says that our former court attorney did not file the lawsuit on time, and therefore they are not going to reimburse the $22,000 in change that we have pending for reimbursement fees for him for the property appraiser cases that we spent in 24 and 25. And potentially I need to get clarification. I think you can read the letter to say that the parts of the appeal that deal with the 22 and 23 tax years, the court operator may not be paying us for those. So I just need to get clarification from her. Is that what she means, and how do you parse that out? And we're feeling basically a little bit worried. So I need to figure out what that is. Other than that, I did the draft matching grant letter. We saw it at the last meeting. It's on the agenda again. And I also didn't still to other. It'll come to, but those are waiting out there so that we get a template in place for our grants and matching obligations from the operator. If the operator wants to join with us, and if we're not going to have matching funds, then we need not apply for the grants or continue on.
And that's also, that they sign the agreement and have it filled out before we move forward on
The
anything.
letter, yes, the letter agreed, the letter ends up being an agreement. It's a template. It's intended to be on our letterhead, but it doesn't matter if it be something that's saying we would both, whoever signs the letter, the other party signing saying, yeah, we want to apply for the grant. And yes, that is ideal, is that we have those signed before we go and send it the grant to. So if we have a grant before the board, ideally we have the matching letters where the operator says, yeah, we'd love to go with that. And if we get it, we will commit the matching. That's it.
Question.
Mhm.
In the letter that Amy sent on February 9th regarding tax years 2022 and 2023, she says that they are writing to withdraw our agreement to defend and indemnify OPA related to any taxes for 2022 and 2023. So they had initially agreed and now they are withdrawing that on the basis of the court's order. It's saying based on the November 2025 order. So they had initially agreed to indemnify us, but now they're deciding not to.
Yes, because they think that, now, again, I need to get clarification, but what I glean from the letter is that because they believe that our former court attorney did not timely file the lawsuit, that we need to be going and looking at district precaution for.
Okay, but I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
But then the other ruling of 21 and 24 that OPA should pay taxes. I mean, regardless whether or not Patrick, filed or did whatever, the ruling would have been the same, and so we still would have had to be in the process of doing.
The indemnification covers that, so that's just a stance that she's taking, and so I think that it's to be determined, but yes, that's what we're saying, is that we paid for it then, but now that we have discovered that this was the fault of the former court attorney, those are just our words, that we're not paying moving forward, so.
So it was Patrick's firm representing us, and then Patrick's firm, I think, was handling litigation directly.
Correct, until remember the insurance money provided for $100,000 of reimbursable defense costs. It's up to $100,000, and once Patrick's firm got to the $100,000, we didn't have the insurance money to reimburse OPA for that. Then I wasn't here, I think it was 2024. I want to say the fall of 2024, when Duster was hired and came on board. But until then, Patrick's firm, Bolton, was handling with the settlement.
Have you notified Balchin William of the issue?
I had a phone call with Patrick Krakowski about that, and he said that the OPA didn't even get the notice until after the 60 days of the statute passed, which is the time we have to file the lawsuit. And so the operator, attorney, Spolston says, well, that's fine, but the statute is very clear, you have to file it in that time. This is their position, the operator's position, is that this has been pending for 2 years, and that the court attorney should have known that you have to file this.
So have you investigated whether or not, that's true about when the notice was received?
To the best that I can, that there was a move going on, but from the emails and everything, yeah, Rosanna had forwarded when she got the mail, forwarded to Patrick, the court attorney, and we noticed, and it was being on the 60-day file.
Is that a valid defense under the tax challenge?
Under the, is it a defense for us that we didn't get? I don't think so, especially since, I mean, I think the operator has a point that Patrick should have known, but I mean, I need to dig in some more. At this time, we need to know is that the operator is pushing back on this, and I have to dig more to see what to do about it.
Do you think there's an issue with forwarding this to Balchin William?
No, not at all. No, it says, I just got it yesterday, so I figured we need to know it when I get on tonight.
Well,
Amy,
I mean, I think we should notify them
Yeah.
of that claim, and if they, see what they say about it.
Tammy, can we sever the years as far as our appeal, or is it we're appealing the whole judgment, or we're appealing nothing?
There were 2 judgments, so there were 2 final judgments, motions for summary judgment. They're already separate, but the appeal is for all, and yes, answer yes. Yes. It's separate.
Okay, so we can't move forward on the appeal or the potential appeal until we resolve this issue?
We have already filed the notice of appeal.
I mean, beyond
The
that.
attorneys have- Okay. Properly, and that's what we're doing, food things and things like that are included, but I will talk to, of course, Amy Wilson, and well, she knows that, but it's not to pay for.
Right, but what I'm getting at is we're going to appeal the 3 and 4, 2021 and 4. It's 2 and 3 that are in question, whether they're going to reimburse the legal fees. If we move forward with the total appeal, we run the risk of
That's what I want to make sure that.
the operator saying, well, we will fund you for this part of the appeal, but not this part. So if we start incurring expenses, you've seen the budget. I think everybody's seen the budget. We don't have the budget to incur any legal fees, So.
Yeah.
So unless we can sever the appeal out, I don't know how we go forward on any of the appeals, which would accelerate
Because we can't take the risk.
right, which would accelerate the judgment in place right now, which would, make the tax liability valid, and the payments would have to be made.
Right. That's right. So I will have to report back. I've talked with her.
I'm gonna say that there's just been an ongoing. Every time that we turn around, we take 1 step forward and 3 backwards. It seems like they make a commitment and then they turn around and say, no, we're not going to honor that commitment. I don't know about you, but it appears that we want in the Port of Fernandina. It's very disturbing. Knowing the situation, it has to be rectified. We cannot continue to bat this ball back and forth across that net and hope that it goes away. It's not going away. We have to stand and face the fiddler, if you will, and get this worked out. If we can't, then we've got a very tough decision to make. And it needs to be done sooner than later. Year after year after year, we keep paddling this canoe and we have to stop it. So I say that you get with their legal counsel and get us some definitive answers where they're going, because right now they're all over the radar. Looking at the letters yesterday and hearing what I'm hearing tonight, it's hard to put your finger on anything. So from my point of view, we need to nail this down. And it doesn't need to get into March and April and May. Next thing you know, we'll be toward the end of the year. It has to be dealt with. So I would ask that they need to make a decision. Are they going to do it or not going to do it?
Well, I don't think that she's leaving the company. I think that with the lawyer speak that's all throughout the letters, I understand and this is that she wrote it that way, but I would get from her, phone call and wait for it, because OHPA has the control of the appeal. So tomorrow I could withdraw the note, obviously with your approval. I would say we're withdrawing our notice of appeal. We're done. We're accepting the judgment and tax liability that goes with that judgment. And that means that March it's $3.2 million.
And that tax bill falls on whose shoulder?
OHPA, right? But from the tax collector's point of view. But then we have an agreement with the 2019 bond and venture documents that says that the operator is going to, that's where the addendum comes from, right? But I think what Amy's saying is that we didn't sign up for all, at this with the letter, we didn't sign up for all this, and we approved this addendum provision. That doesn't mean that she's wrong. That's her job, is to protect her client and pay what it is that they have. So it's not personal.
I would hope this could be worked out feasibly. If not, it's going to come to a drop and run.
Well,
That ball's going to fall.
Whether or not the board decides we're just going to accept fate and see what happens. And that blows up everything. Potentially your elected positions, the operating agreement, the bonding venture document, trustee gets involved, potential receivership by the state of Florida, and that's what we got. But that's where we are. We're on that.
Yep. Yeah.
We're on that track.
Yes, we are.
That's where we're at right now. Honestly, for everybody to know, that's where we're headed.
Right.
So
And OHPA does not have the financial means to fund the appeal. Period. Period. We don't have the funds. Right. We don't have the funds to pay the back taxes. Period. You know.
We don't have the funds to pay forward taxes either, let alone back taxes.
Right. We are.
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Now, I might say this.
Mhm.
26 years, 27. And it's not, this is just years of decades of how it's worked with an operator, and here we are. And of course, without the tax on it, the property tax liability, things speed along, right? But with tax liability, it's so. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that the operator knows exactly how dire this situation is. So,
Well, if they don't, they're fixing to find out. Okay, any other comments or questions? Mr. Cole?
Us being a special district, we reached out to the governor's office to see if we might get some help through them or.
I have not done that, but I will say that, and this is an assumption on my part, right? Because of the, from the state down to special districts and other local governments, the state is telling us with all of the mandates from the last couple of years that if we're not running an efficient operation in the black, we need to go away. Right. That's what the state has told us and our legislators, and they don't have any bills this session that are pending to do that, but we've got, you know, what we've seen in the past, and we have the web designer here, and what we have to do to have on the website. We have to put our goals and policies for everything. So I'm afraid if I call the governor's office, it would not go well. Because I would always be tattling on this and saying, hey, we got a sinking ship over here. Can you give us some help? And they might say, yeah, we can help you close shop. I mean, that's what I would think would be good. Now, I think what we have going for us is the fact that this is commerce, this is a port, and the state of Florida is very supportive of that. So hopefully, and the home for us.
Well, at some point in time, we're going to have to reach out. If we can't work it out with the operator, then we're going to have to do the right thing as commissioners, and we're going to have to step out on that board and turn the light on. Any further questions or comments?
Or turn the lights out.
Or turn the lights out, exactly. Let's move on to the accountant's report.
So you have the treasurer's report package. So I'm thinking there's nothing unusual on the regular treasurer's report. The only thing you receive are farm and harbor and revenue this month. And the expenses are relatively low. It's a normal thing. On page 2, we have the balances as normally presented, various accounts. We did add two line items. So the infrastructure fee collected. So you see the infrastructure fee collected year to date. The bottom number of the pilot payment. So we need to average $4,150 a month in infrastructure collected to be able to meet the $50,000 obligation on October 1st. So, and so we'll continue to record those numbers as they come in. And the same thing, the facility fee, which is the per ton fee, with as I said, for the contract we're receiving a portion of. And you can see, and as we've talked about before, those fees are going to, so the operator has whether we've agreed it or not, right now, we're assuming that all those bonds are going to pay property tax or property insurance, right? So, I believe we agreed with the operator that those bonds would go to that. We don't have that right yet, but at some point we got that, right? So that's why I hesitate. It's not right.
But that's been
Right, that's been our position, right? The first 50,000 collected was coming, was going to come to OHPA, and then the rest, and then after that, the fees would go to offset the insurance costs, the property insurance costs. And so the insurance costs right now are averaging about $400,000 a year for the operator, the property insurance. So we'll be going through the on that. Okay. Any questions?
Sure.
Is there enough fees that what's the net when you take out property insurance, just roughly?
At 100%, you still lose. At this point, the volume is 40. It's not 400,000. 400,000 historically pretty large. Obviously, different operator, different insurance companies, different insurance regimes. Obviously, when Finn and Morgan this year, you know, they were covered by that global insurance. You know, they had their own insurance. I mean, they were charging like $60,000 for property taxes. But again, that was 15 years ago. That was a long time ago too. As far as the insurance market in Florida also. So, you know, we hope, I'm assuming, you know, obviously this comes out of the operating profit anyway. So we hope they're working on getting that number down somehow if they can, but, you know.
So right now, I mean, we're not breaking enough to pay for that insurance.
Through the usage fees,
I'm just curious.
no, definitely not. And remember, we're only getting 25% right now. That ramps up to 100% next year. But even at 100%, 400,000 property insurance, we might have a little bit left, but not a lot.
Chairman, question.
Go ahead.
So the insurance expense, has that been looked at by the auditor or by, like, have we validated that that's a good way to manage that risk? Because, I mean, do other ports self-insure? Or do most ports insure waterside infrastructure like this?
I do believe portable for property. This is sort of a weird situation that we operate as, you know, but we cover the property insurance. And some of what the collateral would be for themselves. For itself, so it'd be relay terminals, which, but you know, relay terminals is nowhere near the size of Kinder Morgan, obviously. So self-insurance would be a lot risk for them. And then obviously beyond whoever owns relay terminals. But relay terminals, you only have a few terminals left, right? So much smaller companies, so self-insurance, I don't know. The only thing we know, we have not reviewed the insurance coverage to see if we get cheap coverage. No, we have not done that. The only thing we ask when we close the financial books is we ask the operator to confirm how much they're paying for property insurance, so that we have, again, so that we have like, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We go out to market for all the insurance. So yeah, we don't have a limited insurance. Right. No, and like I said, but we haven't gone out to the market and seen them. So, you know, we haven't done that part. What we do when we close books is just verify how much they're paying for property insurance, and is there any money left at the end of the day that should come to the VA. So transparency, share the bottom. Yeah. So, but obviously we would have that. Even the auditor would, you know, you're talking about the insurance expert asking, you know, the auditors only verify the financials. They're not insurance experts either. They verify you have the coverage, things like that, but they're certainly not as far as going into the marketplaces. Is there a cheaper way to cover us or something like that? That's a question for the insurance.
Yeah, and I think it's worth just questioning, because we're looking at the operating agreement, that requirement to carry insurance is such a material expense. That's included in section 4 of the operating agreement, like as to whether or not those coverage limits are current, valid, and that, you know, overall we're allocating it appropriately to good parties. If it's worth, you know, looking into it to see, you know, if the coverage is appropriate. And it seems like some of these liabilities that we're now asking about, like with errors and emissions coverage, cover that, you know, with the policy of the operator, that should have covered agents of the operator, right? And the reason we have these claims in these cases is because an agent of the operator makes sworn statements that led to the property purchase action, right? Like that's the primary cause of this whole liability. It's the basis of our identity. So if they have insurance to cover errors and omissions, then arguably that's the place to look and to make a claim. And the agreement does have a waiver of subrogation in favor of us, so they can't come back to us and seek indemnity for the claim. But we can go to that to get indemnity for the claim, right? So, I'm really, going back to, I want to go back to the previous item, if it's okay, Chairman, about Ms. Colson's letter. I think you need clear direction as to what the board's response is for those units. And I think the consensus of the board, based on the comments, is that OHPA rejects their rescinding of that indemnity agreement, because we have no ability to defend those claims. And the basis of those claims and the reason for those claims were actions of their agent and CEO under oath. So I don't know what else, research you need to do, but
It's not research. I mean, I do need to get on a phone call with Amy Olson, which I will, and, but I need to respond with like, and, response. Is that?
And we need confirmation from them that they are defending those claims, that it's going to be handled by Dunster, because otherwise that puts the whole agreement in jeopardy in that position.
Any further comment on that?
I'd just like to visit the pilot payment and the infrastructure fees that we're collecting. So as it stands right now, at least as of December, just some quick math, we're about $3,000 behind where we need to be at this point. Yeah. So that's as we move forward, that's something we should certainly consider, because absent all the other things that are going on right now, we need to pay attention to that and make sure that if we do need to make adjustments in the budget with a little bit of room that we have, we'll need to adjust sooner rather than later to address that delta between what's being collected and what we're going to be due to pay the city on October 1st.
So the infrastructure fee in the tariff is paid a certain time, right?
The facility use. The administrative fee, I believe, is a doctor. I don't think. You're talking about the facility use, which is $1.50 something per ton.
I'm talking about the pilot payment.
No,
The infrastructure fee.
Those are per visit, per ship. Like the ship, the infrastructure fee. So the administrative fee that was added to create the $50,000, right? So when you lost the case with the pilot payment,
Isn't that the additional tariff?
We added, yes, remember, we revised the tariff to add this administrative fee.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I do not believe that administrative fee per ton. I think that administrative per vessel, per side of the vessel.
And that administrative fee is in the infrastructure fee? Or is that 100, that is 100% the infrastructure fee? Okay.
Sorry, yeah, they call it the port administrative.
So this is the one?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's $180 per vessel, equal to or less than 330 feet, and then $360 plus. So no, it's not per ton. Sorry, I think that's
So I think it's a question, for Ted, whether the mix of business that's anticipated for the rest of the year is likely to support that 50,000 revenue coming in, or if, you know, we need to make an adjustment.
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
17 cents per ton.
okay.
Metric ton is the trade side.
Okay, and then the port administration fee is vessels equal to or less than 330 linear feet per call, $180, vessels over 330 linear feet, $360 per call. So that's based on the length of the vessel. But then is there another like tonnage fee? I thought there was another tonnage based fee. You said it was 17. So
That's the 48%.
okay, and that's what's feeding the pilot payment. Okay, so it is based on tonnage.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Harvard admin and both. Right over there, so. Yeah, very well. So it's 17 cents. We'll the money into the, what is it, that you're running, you do, well, September, August.
Yeah, October 1st. Yeah, September.
The payments due on October 1st, so 2027, so it needs to generate $50,000. Yeah, it needs to generate $50,000. I was for.
Is that where we have the 36,000?
What we need last year.
And the next step would be that if we're going to consider a customer that isn't part of the customer, that we need to have an offsetting revenue with that customer that would cover this, because we built the tariff in to cover this cost. And if we're gonna change our mix, then we have to adjust. It's only $50,000, which I know is not a lot in y'all's overall budget, but it's a really big deal to us. We don't have any other means of collecting it.
I'm not looking at cruise ships, but for example, that cruise ship.
Right.
It wouldn't have cost.
Right.
Yeah. Don't use the CS word.
Not a joke.
Not even in jest.
So yeah, so just the point. Yes, we collected 36,000 last year, approximately. That was and we collected more than 36. I think we only wound up covering less than $10,000 from our fund, but that was on a short year
Yes.
because the fee wasn't put in.
So the idea is that we're 50,000.
Yeah, expectation. Yeah. So for I see volume.
That was my question too. It was sort of a sidebar of Ted's topic, sorry about the rudeness. But I had asked here, just for my own edification, I said, is that what the $36,000 was? This administrative fee, I call it the additional tariff, that was put in place in 2022. I said yes. And the reason we were short last year is because we weren't collecting, we didn't have collected for all the 12 months, and when we will, it should be okay. But it sounds like if we start right now, we're still
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on. So everyone, so commissioners, you should have received the draft financial statements, right, from the auditor. So hopefully you got a chance to review them. Obviously, I'm assuming I haven't heard no one any comments or questions or anything. And then obviously we also, Rosanna, I should have sent to you earlier this week, the management discussion and now they're not in your meeting packet because these are both draft documents that aren't, so they're just for this discussion only. So I just need your okay with the management discussion and analysis that we're going to just move forward with what I sent you. No changes to that. Right? And everyone saw, and obviously she's coming to no surprise, on note 7 of the financial statement, they've added a paragraph that talks about the ongoing litigation that we have with regards to property tax. So there is a note that has been added this year into the financial statement that just advises readers that there is ongoing and potential indicate that there's ongoing litigation and potential liability for property tax. And you should see that draft. I also had Rosanna circulate that note that the auditors are adding to the financial statement.
Which, Mr. Bruce signed off on, right?
Yeah, I sent all of it to.
Yeah.
I thought it was-
Yeah, because there was a further comment that there's a comment in the financial statement where we use service STA, which is a term, which is in the governmental accounting standards. There's something called, FTE service organization, and the auditor does put the two statement coming. And so that was sent to the capital, right?
They take into account, not under the same statutes, that the court did, but they take into account that we are a tax exempt entity, especially district in Florida. And the agreement that we have in place, according to the financial accounting standards, meets all of the tax exempt requirements.
According to the auditor.
According to the law.
Difference completely, because there's governmental accounting standards as opposed to legal standards. So that also sent to the legal counsel. Okay, so we will proceed to finalize the financial statements. There will be, you'll have to sign, there's something called management representations that needs to be signed by the chairman. So that will be, once we okay this, they'll be sent that procedure. If Rosanna's not back, you can always go by my office. It needs to be on that head and get it ready. I sign it and officially, usually the chairman signs it. And then we'll finish it.
Tammy, do we need a motion to move this forward?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No, once we have the final, then we accept it and
Okay.
then publish the final. The financial statements. Like I said, these are just for the discussion.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, moving on to item number 10, board operator report. Anybody have anything on that one?
So is there anything that I can incorporate into the, Port of Bernardino update at the TPO meeting tomorrow? Anything you'd like me to highlight?
Say that the KLB exports back, pretty steady, which is amazing. It's always been a mainstay of Bernardino. Went away for a while, it seems to be back, we've capitalized on residents and customers. And we sort of quartered on each of the using one kind of interesting thing, how we get KLB down, especially through the canal, is we floated on reefer ships, which are refrigerated red bulk ships, and we use backhaul. And that's really the economical way to get cargo from here to out. So that's kind of the manner of looking at demands and one down for like or any volume that function February that one because second of alpha on first wait down the work had them shipping that one. For one vessel, 316 discharge is pretty good for about maybe one vessel. Going along with Tim saying on our board vessel, we 469 units rolls moving that now in 3 days, very productive operation for us. we had two different report questions, we had Sober come in with 2,380. And the other, the rest of that cargo was on SCA vessel, we ended up picking up an extra 1,000 metric tons from, again, where it goes from Port Arthur, to see cargo around. If anything, on the uptick in the were January, it was a good month for us. Either. I can look at that, TLB is on the, we have another vessel this month again, which were 35 and 4,500 a month. That's the number of those who produce be a grab car and trucks. So I mean, that's still kind of moving on.
Yeah, I mean, this is about, I guess I'll just talk about this for the operator report. I mean, this cargo metric, but as of today, we are 1 year injury-free. Which is something I think it's pretty unheard of here. So we're celebrating the team month. We're really happy about that, really proud of that. If you know the man which we handle cargo, especially cargo like KOV, where it's, you know, we touch every role with the human. Was a testament to Travis and Phil and Brandon. Really, they're the guys who drive that home. I'm just along for the ride and the team world. So hats off to them for their guys in the action.
Great job. So would you be able to maybe give me some of those bullets? I was trying to type, but I couldn't quite hear when you were talking about the SCA vessel. Okay, great. That'd be great.
Again, I know you're gonna kill me. I may have I have an emergency call. It's the, and I'm trying. I actually emailed and said I asked him. Said any way we can do it. He says check.
Okay.
So
Good. I'll deliver the good report whether or not you're there, but I just thought it would be a good experience. So.
I'm looking. So I'm looking at your port infrastructure collection page, which is doesn't have a page number. It's the last page of your submission. $4,600 for and 60 cents for January. It's titled Port Infrastructure Collection, January 31st, 2026. Okay. All right.
Since we're on the subject of tonnage, any new business on the horizon?
So, you know, we're still, you know, actually, you probably had it before. I had talked with them 3 times. Over the care consultant record. I mean, they kind of strung us along. You know, as of this week, we're going to spread them out a little more higher. We've been pretty patient with them. I don't feel like they're coming along. We've got a pool salt agreement that we think we did this summer. That's when they think we'll start importing the pool salt to make up for the increased demand. They've got a good source. It'll be a good source for jobs for us to take the cargo off the super sites. We'll have to then translate the super site pallets, shrink wrap it, and big walnuts. The pool salt. So we're pretty high on that one. We are 90% sure, I think, so illegal that sort of the lumber. So the lumber is always known as gravel. It rides on the same ship pole. I think they're right there. That'd be my shot. And then, you know, we are really pushing more KO. We're trying to really, I mean, our goal is to, you know, we're trying to pull a lot of levers here to maximize this for the ships. Whether they're leaving, we're even at the ships and stuff. That is pretty tough already.
The last couple of KLB buses had like 4,500 tons. You know, that's full 4 hatches, flat, full 4 decks. I mean, honestly, we can get to where the ice that we went to that was 6,000 Yeah, Mr. Nelson knows that we're having to walk a fine line between cargo cutoff. The loading this crop is crazy, but you want the extra tonnage, then your paperwork's a mess. Trying to do it last minute, maybe some stuff plan, so we've been kind of fighting that as well. I'll say that I'm probably gonna sign an agreement with Mark to upgrade our total operating system with OHPA. Whereas some add-ons, we'll have EDI, and enhanced capabilities to cut out some of the manual issues. That would be really helpful. As well. When is the Georgia Pacifics and overall the 22 terminal area with that? That's about to be good. We're trying to get our foot in the door with big boys with the fall. And just for reference, Colorado, the player, they go trade, so they get them. Oh, then the head manager of East West and reached out to me the other day, wanted to have a conversation because they just got us. So we want the two arrow, yeah, which is the G2 Ocean Vessel, a big vessel, and that could be part of it. Last year, the Lord, we had that contract. They're sort of a tramp operator. They go charter a ship for a couple of months, where the cargo on it. Whereas, you know, G2 Ocean, they're a major player. And his text to me, we talked on the phone a little bit. He's gonna see what other cargo we can add in his rotation for us.
Any chance of getting contract cargo for G2? I know they got mighty big ships. And contract cargo, I mean, we used to take advantage of that. We'd give them a decent rate. We'd put bulldozers. I've got pictures of tractor trailers, bulldozers, 53-foot trailers, whatever we could get on deck is what we took them. I mean, any possibility on grabbing that?
I think we'll be able to inbound rotation. I'll go up and hit Baltimore, Philly. Sometimes they'll hit Wilmington and then come to us. So I think we'll be able to, and then they'll just go. I don't know about that. They have asked about draft. I know they get that later. So
yeah,
they do have very different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Facility report, repair update. Anything on the doors?
Doors, they were ordered today. I got 34 weeks of getting them to be, that's production, getting here, and then installation. I do not put it, but that phone call I had today. So I mean, I know I told Commissioner Moore, I don't keep the we had some pickups. A lot of for that, but right now I say will be some production around the installation. That's they're gonna be the same person doing the work. It's in.
Okay. Still making progress with the lighting. I know I've heard some good reports, but you know, they always say we got this, but we need this.
That faces the west of the dock, that work that whole range. Chris worked on that. Be honest with you, in transparency, he lost a whole week on that. So that kind of delay we had there to manage that for him to do it, and all three of them got working all last week. We had a hiccup there as far as solar sound. We're still moving forward.
Okay, I think that would be a big positive to calm the Coast Guard. I think that would go a long way. And we've already discussed the new business or additional business. Okay, any further questions or comments on that? We're good? All right, let's move down to 11. We do have a public comment on that. Mr. Thayer, I'm gonna ask you if you'll just come and stand right here by the Commissioner Cole. I apologize for the sound system tonight, but we're gonna do the best we can until we finish.
This there, 132 North Third Street, from the Big Star. I would like to ask the commissioners and operator report. It's time to move that warehouse. It's past time. We sat in this room right here and we decided where it was going to go. But the operator and many people in the audience agreed that this is where it should go. I would like to say it's time for it to move. Now, we have all these reasons why we gotta get down. If the fabric warehouse cannot get the data out, just whatever it takes to do fire suppression, it really doesn't matter. As a contractor, we built a nuclear powerhouse, Unit 1. In that decision, we decided that we would move everything as we did. We take it apart, we move it down. But Unit 2, even though we wasn't going to get it, Unit 2, we didn't know what we took it all down, we moved it down, and as we took it apart, we kept up with how it went. And it was able to put it back together with our contract in record-breaking time. And it's still award-winning for us to nuclear powerhouses and big liquid development. So I think it could be taken down, stored. Fabric warehouse can easily be taken down, stored, put away, put back. But it's time right now for us to go ahead and get that moved and get it off the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thayer. With that being said, we've had way too many conversations about this. We've had vote after vote after vote after vote. I think there was a total of 5 or either 6. That is not progress. That is hiding in confusion. And that's my opinion. We need to get this thing moved immediately, if not soon. I know I've heard all the reasons why it can't go where it was engineered to go. I've heard them all. But the positive, if you want to call it that, for moving it further to the west, it's not materializing. I agree. We're hearing, well, we're waiting on this static test and we're waiting on this and we're waiting on that. Look, we'll be waiting until eternity begins. We got to move this stuff. And this is why I've been telling and saying to the commissioners, we've got to move forward. All of the derailments, all of the changing of the mine, all of the colorations, it's got to stop. This board needs to put a definitive time and date where that needs to be moved, or we take further action on it. You say, what kind of action can we take? We start with the operator, because they willfully made a decision on their own without this board's knowledge to move that fabric warehouse from where it was supposed to be to where it is now. In any shape, fashion, or form of business, that's unacceptable. This board voted on it. We listened to the engineering advice. The plans were there. We voted on it. And the next thing you know, the chair is getting a phone call that it's not being put where it should be put. I would like to hear some comments on this, and I hope that I'm not the only one that feels as strongly about this, because it's a challenge to this board's authority. And that cannot stand. We are elected by the people to take care of the people's business, and it's been derailed. We, as commissioners, can put it back on track. And that's exactly what we need to do.
Mr. Chairman, you are not alone in the frustration at the length of this process. As I've said all along, but for that original action, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. If the warehouse had put in the original agreed to location, there would be none of this going on. But for the actions of the operator to put it where the commission did not approve, all this has happened. I remember when Commissioner Taylor was chairman, October was the day that it was agreed that the move would be done. Here we are 4 months after October. Not a bolt's been removed, not a plan has been completed, nothing. So I ask you, when will the fabric warehouse be moved?
So we're gonna put it in. You know why? Because I don't trust anybody in this town. I don't, that's my opinion. I think if we move the little building the way I want, we're gonna get messed with. We gotta target our eyes. Collectively, we gotta target our eyes. I'm not saying it's not wrong, right? I'm not saying it's unfair. I'm just saying that's what's going on. I've got a CO in that whole building. The original building. I'm not gonna touch it. So everybody gets their wish. We're gonna put it in the original location. He's got quotes. We're gonna run utilities over there. We're gonna pour in the pad. We're gonna stabilize it. We're gonna put it where it's supposed to go. And we're gonna be done.
So now,
I feel like if I move that little building a foot, I'm gonna get ripped apart by every agency in this county. But every little thing in place for a little tiny bit. I've got a CO, I'm not gonna touch it. That's my point, right? I think that makes the move twice as fast. I think it simplifies it. Do I get what I want? No, but this gets off my back. Because I'm tired of hearing about it. I get it.
so now the plan is to put it in the original location.
I wanted to. I did. My CEO brain, I thought it would be good. I mean, I don't have experience, you do that, you can thoroughly, that's what I put. I pushed it, it has not moved fast, it hasn't moved, I know engineers who said, what was there? That's my fault, I have dropped the ball on certain things, I agree that it needs to go where Richard had it. I cannot speak on what I was, what happened before. Actually, once it's got there, I'm trying to fix it. They have not go as fast as I want to, I'm going to go as far as I can. I can speak on delays that have happened since October, November. I know all about that now. I have no problem. I have already started moving, and then I got 3 quotes. I've had 6 different companies give me quotes on the foundation, putting exactly on the northeast corner, running east and west. I think that is what you I'm working on this out. And very expensive, but this is, I'm not all this work, I'm standing. I have really tried hard to make this work. Coming in on the backside of it, I'm really just, I can tell you what the place are. But we are moving forward, I've already got this in place for putting foundation now. Just let everybody know, I understand the frustration, I get it. I'm frustrated too, because everybody wants it done, and it falls here, and I'm trying.
In fact, I'll add, I just signed a PO $10,000. They have to fast track. Yes, they're the we rely on historical things. Ask them Savage, hey, can we pull this? Still part of our operating agreement kind of thing. And then about a week ago, we said, you know what, we called out and now call, we said, hey, we need help. We need to fast track this. They said, okay. And so they're engaged. I'll send you the proof. So I get it. I mean, I'm frustrated. Probably see it all. it's not okay on my watch. I don't like coming to meetings and hearing you say that it's, that's not me. And I'm not trying to hide anything, I'm not trying to sidestep you, I've got money budgeted to do the move, right, it's there. But I mean, I just.
I'll go as far as telling you that we were told that there was one, state block, both buildings could be put in shared file. There was gonna be traffic plans, and the 100-year flood plan needed to be redesigned per ANC 2414, which is the most updated, standard. And it had to be signed, stamped, and delivered by a licensed, engineer. We were told that was gonna have to be by the project manager. Provide that, and where I went back and started looking and talking to Big Top about getting fire suppression there, and we talked about the whole fire suppression, everything we had to do to get that for Big Top. That is now I have quoted that I see as well as an updated fire suppression program building. We didn't get what we were promised. And when I discovered that, that's when I reached out to him and said, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to do this. And we already have a relationship that, let's reach out to him. He put the ball and ran with it, and that's where it is. I talked to them again today. Their engineer is going through the whole process right now as far as reading every single code, everything that the TPC handed us. I sent him that. He's going to every one of them. And once we have a response to the project, like what people I need to do. I mean, I understand the frustration, but I promise you, it's slow, but I have been pushing hard. I won't rest.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
can you send to Rosanna for distribution to the board the schematics, the drawings of where the warehouse will be located? So that the board can approve the location again, since it sounds like it's gonna be east-west, not north-south. So it's a different orientation. However, whatever it is, just please submit it to us. Please submit it to us for review, like to scale.
And I will actually do that, the answer. Just add a little bit more color to it. Want to go on the far north corner, 50 yards off that east fence. So if you drive a truck over the county, it's going to be a mix there. I don't do property lines, setbacks, stuff like that. So get me a contract. Yes, thank
Thank you.
I will do that.
And whatever, and what, go ahead.
Guys, I need you to email Rosanna. Then we. They thought. They want to call. We have to guess it. We have to get the stuff. So, February 18th, there will be Rosanna from us. Hopefully, at the edge, hopefully,
And do you have a demo permit pulled? Did you pull a demo permit on the existing structure? You do?
So
Yeah.
that's another thing I can tell you. What I've got, I've been trying to do it myself. I called the Acton, I called the Big Top, neither one of them are general contractors. That's what I'm doing.
So if you're gonna demo the existing structure and reuse it, and any parts that are gonna be replaced, like if you're gonna replace the top, don't make it, please, I just request that you don't make a determination of what it's gonna be until the board has input, because we want to have input on if there's an opportunity to change the color, right? Because that's a big deal to the community to have that big white vinyl. So I don't know that it could be able to be reused. It doesn't seem feasible to me, but I'm not an expert, but that just doesn't seem feasible because it already has tears in it. So that I just request, please, that you come back to the board first so that we can provide input on anything that's not going to be reused.
So, yes, ma'am. Thank you. The estimate that I got, Big Top, I had question. The way I understood it, and I'm not unclear, all I'm saying, fabric, except that impact needs to be replaced where it is. That's the way I understand. I provide that same thing to the board, from that to the board. Okay, yes, sir.
And pull the permits before you do anything, pull the permits. That was another part of the issue. The permits were not pulled. Had they been pulled, the setback would have been known, it would have been identified, and you wouldn't have gotten the permits. Pull the permits.
And I say, as soon as you get the update on going east and west versus north and south on the northeast corner, get that to us so that we can schedule it for a meeting and have a discussion on it. And this board will vote it up or down. Okay. All right. Renegotiation of operating agreement updates. Now, I know at the last meeting, we had some agreements that there would be some letters back and forth, input. Would you take point on that?
I think a list that was publicly discussed here, that Commissioner Hill was going through this, and those notes were provided to Rosanna to come up with for this, this board essentially endorsed. It's not a list that we were asked to make, but it's just a point of started discussion. So I wrote a letter to the operator, or at least attached it and said, this is a starting point. And this is what we agreed that we want to talk about. Maybe changes to operating. I have not got a response back. That's really.
I was hoping you'd say you got it, because I see a never-ending cycle here. When we ask for participation so that this board is not pointed out as not incorporating the operator's opinions, it just drags and drags and drags. We have to move forward with this stuff.
Well,
And it doesn't seem like we are.
and I will say this to, well, it is going to fire, but I just have to say it too. I haven't already realized it. The time that I'm spending billing the Ocean Highway and Port Authority to draft these drafts is so far all for naught. I could be using that money going after breaches of contract. That time instead of spinning my wheels. I don't mind what I enjoy my work with the board, but just to keep in mind, you pay the attorney to communicate with the operator, provide them messaging, and then now I have not got radio silence completely on anything that I've sent them yet. We have gotten responses eventually, but with regards to letters since the last meeting, I haven't received a response.
Commissioners, I don't know how you feel about this, but in my opinion, this is totally unacceptable. They want us to be transparent and run a business with them, but yet they're not moving in that direction. If they answered the call and gave us some of their thoughts and ideas, maybe we could negotiate something that would work positively for the Port of Fernandina. But we're not getting that. We're getting, well, we decided not to participate in this one. That's not an option. Then we'll write the letter, and that's what we're going to go by.
What about the other attorney that you mentioned would be handling matters for the board?
So, it's supposed to be a weird amount. I don't know about. I've been told is there's a view when you negotiating during the appeal, you factor into the legal record. I know you said that's not the case, but that's what I'm told. Now, this is where it gets weird. I don't know anything about any of this.
thank you for sharing that insight though.
Well,
But that.
we
Anything that, yeah, and I mean, I've been trying to be patient.
But this letter that's in the packet down there, you sent it to me? Okay. Did it go? I mean, we had an email.
Yeah, that was a draft that I thought I attached the draft. It was a rough draft of where we can start our discussions. Based upon what we talked about.
this was a letter to be sent to gauge the interest, the willingness, whatever you want to call it, of the port operator to participate in renegotiation of the operating agreement based on the property appraiser's case. Contained in this letter are a number of issue areas that we would like to address, and we sought through the email exchange initial negotiation to let you know kind of where we stood and gauge your interest in participating in the process. So where we are now, we've given you that opportunity. When I say you, I mean Relay Terminals. So at this point, I think having given them the opportunity to comment on our draft, having heard nothing, we can take that as, you know, they don't care to comment on it and, you know, issue this letter as written.
And, Chairman,
Go ahead.
the first paragraph, and I apologize for not providing this feedback. I don't know if you said this draft and board did. I didn't review it, so my bad.
I don't think I sent it out.
Okay, well, if you did, my apologies. So that first paragraph, this letter is subject to negotiation as Vice Chair Moore just said. The terms of this letter are preliminary terms of what we are willing to look at and open up for discussion, right? And so if you have feedback, if Amy has feedback or this other attorney that you're working with has feedback, we can incorporate that before it's signed. So that's why it's in a draft format.
I understand.
The first paragraph can say something in reference to the case. So like right now it references the court. As a lawyer, I would say reference the specific place that and which court, which court or which date, by specificity, and include a statement that this is not an admission of any wrongdoing, and this is not an admission of any fact at issue in those proceedings, but that for our business relationship, that we wish to amend certain things moving forward to address concerns of the board and the community, right? And then if we want to take out all the references to the appeal in that second paragraph until you get to actually I would take out the entire second paragraph, because that talks about someone's thoughts on the appeal. And I would, frankly, that's not even the point of this. So the point of this is our relationship with the operator and the changes that need to be made to the operating agreement to reflect not only what we actually do, because a lot of this is stuff we actually do, but it's not in writing operating agreement, but also to improve our control over the port for a wide variety of reasons, not just the litigation. So I would strike the entire second paragraph, and I would list out the items that we want to open up.
And as they are stated. Yeah.
Unless there's objections from Savage, which I think we should listen to in good faith. Absolutely. I don't think it's supposed to be punitive. I think both sides are going to have to stretch. A good deal always involves both sides giving up a little something in exchange for getting something, right? We may not get everything we want.
Yeah, I didn't look at the packet, I should have, I swear I haven't got. When I got the email, it was full of email.
And that's okay, I haven't gone back to look at, but
Okay. I mean, I was
We
just
are-
my email, I didn't see-
I didn't expect, I don't think I expected to come to this meeting with, because I hadn't heard from the attorney, I didn't necessarily think.
Did you send that letter to me?
I thought I did, but
You
I'll
sent it to,
Amy Folsom is the only attorney that I'm with, that I decided to tell them.
okay, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get Larry. It's odd because she's tied to historical things of property. And I won't do that forward, so let me draw some lines.
Sure.
And
And
I'll
then just tell me who I.
I'll shoot you directly up. Yeah, it's, I'm sorry, this could be useful. Okay, and you're going to amend it per Commissioner Hill's instruction.
Is that what you want me to do it and resend the draft?
Yes, and here's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
You can go ahead and send it to him. We are going to, as a board, address this at the very next meeting. And one way or the other, it's gonna be signed by me and sent. Because we're not gonna keep hashing this out. We have to take a stand where we have our olive branch out to try to work this between the operator and the board, and we're not getting anywhere.
This is all fair. Yeah, he's coming.
No, I am aggressive because we've been talking about this for the last two meetings. And it came to the last meeting where this letter was going to be sent, and we're still sitting here on our laptops. It's not in the mail. It hasn't been sent. We're empty-handed. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for this board. We're either going to work together.
Couldn't agree more.
I mean, it's redundant. I mean, we got our heads in buckets and we're not getting anything done. It's time that we get it done. That's my point. Any other commissioner have a comment? A question, a concern?
With concurrence from my fellow commissioners, I'd like to provide to Amy suggestion to remove the second paragraph for Commissioner Hill and add a date certain in the last paragraph for Relay Terminals to respond to the letter. And the date certain should be within a week and a half.
Send it.
Yep.
So then it sounds to me the direction is to put this letter in final format that says, this is our proposal, that these are the items that we talk about and negotiate.
As a starting point, yes.
But it'll still have an acknowledgement line for them.
Yes.
Sign it out.
Yeah.
And just to, Chairman, if I may, just add a comment. I realize that I hear the frustration that there isn't action on this. But if it's any comfort, the process of negotiating this operating agreement, these are terms in the existing operating agreement that were carried forward from Kinder Morgan. Like if you look back at the Kinder Morgan agreement, there's a lot of sections that it looks like whoever wrote the current agreement just took that. I mean, 80% of it is the Kinder Morgan agreement. And we're only really struggling as a board with all these issues because of the way the finances are handled with the current agreement, right? Like that it doesn't come into an OHPA account. And then you have Lagucci came in and made all these sworn statements, right? So this situation took a long time to develop. It was a weak contract that we've had for 20 years. We've had multiple players, right? But what we want is a good result. And you don't get that by one party forcing another party to do something, because frankly, that's what we have here is where the former operator gave us an agreement and we had very poor representation. Admittedly, Clyde Davis said he didn't want the board to sign it, right? He admitted it. He admitted that he hadn't done a good job that he felt good about. He said, don't sign this, right? So you had one party pushing it on the other. We don't want that. We want an agreement that's properly negotiated, and courts do it. Courts negotiate operating agreements all the time, and both parties are happy to sign them. And so we should come to the table with the goal that we will both be happy with the result, not that we're gonna impose something punitive on them and they're just gonna sign it. Because if that's the case, then we should declare them in default and put it out to bid to someone else, right? And that's not, I mean, if we're going into it, we need to have good faith that we're gonna work together to come up with an agreement that is good for both sides. So I don't expect you to respond to that, but I just hope that that's what I'm coming to it with. And I know that you've worked with these guys for, personally. And so I know that they can do it. And I think that's your frustration, is that they can be a good partner, but you don't get the responses you feel we need. And I hear that. I think we need to make sure that we have key performance indicators, KPIs in here that say to the level of detail that you want, where they're providing reports, that they're meeting with us weekly, whatever it is you feel like we need, if it's weekly reports, right? I mean, if you want weekly conversations, well, let's put that in there. Let's put that in there. There's a weekly touch point with someone from the portfolio. They respond to Rosanna's emails within 24 hours. Okay, that's measurable.
I've always accepted that ideology that you just expressed. But when I extend and I extend and I extend and I don't get that response, then at some point in time, I have to clap the hands and move on. And that's where I'm at. We've either got to work together or go our separate ways. I hate to be that blunt about it, but that's where we're at. We're either going to sign the agreement. We're not even negotiating it. What we're hearing now is nobody got it. That's what I'm hearing. If I'm wrong, correct me. I don't want to hear that. I want something done. We need to move on. I want to see new business in that port. I've been told it's the best kept secret on the East Coast. I believe that, but I'm not seeing no response. So help me help the port. That's what I want to do. I'm not here to bash anybody, but the frustration level is over the top. It's over the top. And then I go out into public and I'm hit with it again. Whether you believe it or not, people are looking at what's going on out there. Let's do our jobs. Let's get it right. And I agree with you. In the past, we can't stand here and be responsible for the ills of the past. But you know what? We have the responsibility for the here and now and the future. And we got to start turning those valves and pulling those levers.
I think right now, we're operating under the old operating agreement, which does not compel the port operator to renegotiate any contract. They can say, nope, don't want to do it. But I think the first step in the process is for us collectively to formally ask to renegotiate. We haven't done that yet. Sitting here in the meeting and talking to you, Ted, that's not an ask. We want to renegotiate, but the first step, right? But the first step is to formally ask. This letter is the formal ask. And then if you say, not you directly, but if Relay collectively says, nope, we're not going to renegotiate, then we move on to step B and perhaps step C. to try to force a renegotiation in light of the property appraiser's case, unless you're happy paying $600,000 a year. If you're happy doing that, please let us know. If you're happy paying, not that this would address that, but if you're happy paying $3 million in back taxes, please let us know. But the first step in the process is for the board to collectively send a letter to Relay and say, we want to renegotiate. We want to enter into a partnership in light of the property appraiser's decision. Moving forward, we want to have a new operating agreement that addresses their concerns so that you are not liable to future taxes.
Any further questions or comments? All right, we'll move on. Let's move down to C. We'll cover maintenance dredging. I'll share with you what I got. I understand there were some questions asked of Kyle Kaufman with FDOT, and Kyle looked at the grant for the fenders, and I got a response back from Brian Austin. There was an email where Brian said, yes, you can use any money that's free. If the money is not all used, absolutely you can apply it. Apparently it's been done in the past. All we were asking is, stemming from the conversation that Travis and I had, to try to locate some funding to take care of the maintenance dredging. And that's how that questionnaire got put out there. I talked to Bo Corbett, and Bo said it's not a federal deal because it's not in the navigable waterway. It's actually up against the dock. We've had that maintenance dredging done before, and I believe it was done in 22. So it does happen periodically, and there was some grant money for that one. So that's the information that came to me. So I'm sharing it with you. The only thing we can do now is stay on top of it. Once we see what the fender project is going to do, if there's any other monies that come up or grants, then we look at it.
I mean, the fender project's kind of foregone conclusion because I don't have the numbers off the top of it, but the lion's share of that grant is for the equipment, the install, maintenance, and the engineering is pretty good. It's a plug and play. So I mean, I just don't know how they would fund it. I don't have that.
Well, it wasn't that there will be. The question was, if there is on that grant 2437, I believe it was, could we use that money? He went to his folks, come back with the answer. Absolutely. So that's what I committed to him is I'll look into it, see what we can find out.
Just want to make it clear to everybody that the materials have been ordered in their own way that we paid for. So we have to pay for those materials through the grant. So therefore, I get what you're saying, like in the future we could reuse some other grants. This will simply, I don't see it happening.
If there is another grant out there that we can grab some, it's always worth asking the question and letting them go do the legwork because they're happy to do it and come back and say yes or no, definitely. I think we need to take every option that we can come up with. And you know, there's no stupid questions.
Yeah, I mean, I welcome a plan of action. We're doing the critical point, especially as we, I mentioned earlier, GTOs will start to call, they have very large customers. I've been asked about that. So
I would say this, and I'll be willing to work. I know Commissioner Cole is handling the Army Corps of Engineer now. We already know from my conversation with Bo Corbett, it's not an Army Corps of Engineers problem. It's our problem. Of an estimate, and then we can go to FDOT and say, what would you suggest? I guarantee you they'll come back with some kind of a good answer for us. I mean, it's always worth trying, but if we just sit on our hands, the material is going to continue to build, and we're going to get shallower and shallower at that dock, and we don't need that.
Who from Oakland lead charge?
Well, like I just said, he is,
I got the vote, but we're not, he said, I don't have anything for you at this time. And that responsibility doesn't fall with the federal side, but that up to you.
we can do it with the state's help, but that's going to come from us saying, hey, we got to have this maintenance dredging done, or we're going to lose commerce coming to the dock. And that's what happened the last time, which the last time, instead of going out and, putting it through all this bid process, they narrowed it down, and John Solomon come out there with barges and a track hoe and done what he needed to do. Okay. If it works, it works. The permits were pulled. Everything was legal. We may have to follow suit on that, but we got to get on top of it and ride it instead of pushing it.
What is it? What is it called?
South in the burn, 35 feet, but we're going to burn 3 feet.
Off the step. North end is what?
North end's 38 and carrying.
But they're giving us a rival.
37.
37. Foot off.
Through the federal and state grant process, there's recovered monies. One of the items that MARAD recovered was the $1 million for the tugboat that we sent them. Through that clawback process, there are opportunities, and they don't come up according to any particular schedule, but there are opportunities to reallocate that money to other projects. But the first step in the process is having an idea, and it doesn't have to be, a down to the penny estimate. How much is it going to cost? So when we go to FDOT and say, hey, is there any fallout money, from previous years that you've clawed back? We need $100,000, just pulling a number out of the air, for dredging. Is that available? And they'll say, well, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. If it's yes, then get us more information. And there's a chance to get that clawed back funding. If the answer is no, the answer is no.
Here's one thing that's supposed to be very well. Extension. But again, we're a team, so that's what I'm asking. What's the plan of that?
But we need an estimate of, what a maintenance dredge. Okay. All right.
Travis, if you could get with John Solomon and just ask John of his last process, because he went from the north end to the south end. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's the fastest guy in the market, but he is steady. Just ask him to come out there, use the soundings that the pilots have given you, and let's see what he comes up with. We're looking for a starting point. I guarantee you he can do his calculations, tell you how much material is going to have to be removed. And the reason I say him is because at first I was nervous about that bucket coming up toward them pylons, but he done a good job. So let's just ask him to come out, give us a starting, and then we can work from there. Then I can take some numbers and we'll go back to FDOT and see what we come up with. That's the only way I know that we can do it right now and get the help that we need.
What is your ideal? Mayor, what do they cut past? In the past, did they cut down just to 38 or did they in the house cut from 40?
I think he was closer to 40 when he went to the last one.
42?
Well, 42. That's
here.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that because you have equipment limitations. But I'm saying close to 40.
So especially what I've seen at ports, not the channel, but at the curb, you have let's just say you have a line, a public depth, when you're advertising or whatever, 40 feet, you usually have an allowance to cut the 42. That way, as soon as you dig the 40, it sets back in, you just screw yourself. And but then that all has to do with the engineering of the job, make sure you're not undermining the power.
Yeah.
And an older port shooting problem, it is, you know, a port was built in 50, wasn't need to have ships that deep. They back then, they thought there's no way to run these ships that deep. There you go.
Yeah. The last thing you want is for the keel of a ship to touch that bottom. That's not good. Okay. Any further comments or questions on that? We move on. All right. FSTED meeting updates from Tallahassee.
Yep, I attended my first FSTED meeting as the OHPA representative on the 3rd and 4th. Very productive and informative. Everybody was very interested in what was going on at the Port of Fernandina. Hopefully, I gave them the correct information. There's a couple of things that I do want to cover for the commissioners having to do with timelines for federal and state grants. I'll just go right down the list. The build grant, which is better utilizing investment to leverage development. It's a federal grant. It's a US DOT grant. Funds transportation infrastructure, including port infrastructure. This fiscal year, they're going to do $1.5 billion in grants. The application is due by February 24th. Obviously, that's coming up here directly. The PIDP grant, the Port Infrastructure Development Program grant for 2026 is due April 28th. Now, the MARAD representative did say that they were going to slip the date on that in the NOFO for that grant considerably, but you know, if they're obviously we've got the PIDP out there pending for 2025.
So I didn't hear you correct. What was the very first item you said?
Yeah, that's the build grant, better utilizing investments to leverage development. It's a US DOT grant. It's to fund transportation infrastructure, including port infrastructure. Total layout for FY26 is $1.5 billion. And that is due, unless they slip the date, that is due by February 24th. There's also I mean, there's a number of other ones, but there are no, yeah. That's kind of a aggressive timeline for us. So we have the port security grant, which is coming up in the summer. No date given, but expected summer of 2026. So that's something to keep in the back burner. If we have port security, especially with a recent spate of security incidents, you know, if there are any port security upgrades that we would like to make and we'd like to receive a grant for, you know, that's something to consider from the,
Has there been a notice of funding?
not yet. The only ones with notice of funding right now are the build grant, which is the better utilizing investments to leverage development. That's the U.S. Department of Transportation grant. And then the PIDP grant for 2026, which was February 28th. But that one and perhaps the build grant are going to slip, at least according to the MARAD representative. The PIDP is definitely going to slip. He said that the build was probably going to slip.
What does that mean?
The slip of the date that the applications have to be in.
So they're gonna give more time?
Yeah.
For me, it makes
Yeah.
sense while they roll the due date for the application, and they have to give any kind of notice to that.
Yeah.
Right. So should we just resubmit?
We don't know.
That's certainly one way to go.
Yeah. Others that's
Yeah. Or if there are,
Contact them and find out what we should do? We should resubmit?
yeah. I mean, yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem. Or if we have, like second phase, I know the PIDP grant, we were, I don't want to say limited on the size of the grant based on the small port set aside. But there are probably some things that we would have liked to have submitted as part of the PIDP last year that we didn't submit to keep it under a that budget threshold.
Do you know the stats of the build grant, that grant is
No, I don't know. As far as what the matches are,
Which one? The PIDP or the bill?
the build. But that should be in the NOFA. And for FSTED grants, these are Florida grants. The Seaport Program application cycle, the FSTED program, for fiscal year 2028, these are awards that will be committed in 2027, moving through 2028. The FSTED program project application cycle, June 16th. It's June 16th, the application for all of these. The FSTED security project application cycle for 2027, and that's when these projects terminate. That is due also June 16th. And the Strategic Port Investment Initiative, which is not an FSTED grant, it's an FDOT grant for the 2030 and 2031 projects, also must be submitted by June 16th. The opening date for all of those in the C-Hub system is May 1st, 2026. And that's all I have, unless any commissioners have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on down to C, and we're going to just briefly touch on the Shrimp Fest. Any,
No, I didn't
Okay.
get with the city, but I'll do that before the next meeting.
okay. All right, so moving into new business. The NPDES stormwater inspection that's scheduled for the 17th. You want to give us a little bit of an update on preparations?
Any containment that we got paid, something that the EPA is wants about either install, they can order and things be updated, ready to go when they need.
Okay. All right. Once you have that inspection at the following the inspection, if you will make an update to the board, let us know exactly what came out of that. That would be great. Okay. All right, moving down to the RFP on the website, the ADA compliance. Ms. Osborne, thank you for your patience tonight. I appreciate it. If you would like to come up and address the board.
Yeah, I update the board.
Sure, yeah.
We met with Ms. Osborne and also yes, on Thursday, and we had a meeting with Alon. Alon is the partnering firm with Biz Bolster that does the ADA compliance. So we met with both of those, we and we have the draft engagement letters. There's really not a problem with any of the terms in there. There's things I have to add to them to comply with Florida law. The Florida statute requires e-verify, for example. And it requires that we mention that you have to sign that you don't do routine trafficking, that you don't do business with foreign. Yeah. So I have to add that scientific agreement, but we're basically fine. The cost is right. It's $4,500 for exhaust form and this holster, and then I assume that the other $3,500 because we have an $8,000 budget is going to go to Ally. There might be a little room for some maintenance and stuff like that, but that's where we are. It's a pretty easy deal. The biggest part of this, that's just the stuff that is on the website itself. I haven't scrolled inside, but I went through it in a PDF way with the website as the PDF, marked through the documents that are not required, or the links that are not required by the statute. Literally the very bare bones. That doesn't mean that's what I suggest. I think it's the best website. It's just, you don't need any of this to comply with the law. But you may want to have something. For example, you may want to have directions, like on the first page, it gives instructions to truck drivers. You may want to have those things, but they all have to be there to be read and read. And so what I wanted you all to do, we may not have had time to do it before this meeting, but is to look through what I've gone through as not needed on the website and tell us and what you went back in, or the things that we have to have. We all agree that the website is going to look different. It's going to be easier, prettier, not so many links, not so many words, and so I need to search this on point. Needs the commissioners to tell us what documents that you do want. Otherwise, we're going to be working on the bare bones that I have provided to Lori as what needs to be. This is a process that doesn't mean that this is going to be the website that goes live. This for the next meeting on the 25th, the agreements that go back on, we will retroactively, if they're approved, I assume retroactive today. So anything that we work on, between now and 25th, that they'll be approved on 25th, we'll have those agreements back for action. And then it would be great if you could get some insight to Lori, even if you just watch this on YouTube, our meeting, and to Rosanna, what it is documents that you want in there that I'm suggesting that you want, which is fine. And that's really good. I don't think there's any action unless there's already feedback from the commission.
I was just going to run through the dates, and I set the dates dependent on getting some feedback by the 27th to give us the time for that next meeting. But there's still, so even with that, there's a little bit of time to nail down the accessibility for the documents. It's one of the more time consuming and expensive pieces of it. So that's why you want to consider time involved. Now, the simple PDFs that are just text, that's the easiest stuff and the least expensive. So when you're looking at those, you can think about, there's a lot of extraneous beyond words, that's where additional time is involved. But from a timing perspective, I have it basically set up 12 weeks from today, based on our Friday, based on those dates, and I'll adjust accordingly, but I'm playing OP and stick to the initial schedule that we had in the RFP, because we had 10 weeks, so I would have made to this off. And all those dates are in the agreement. I'm going to want me to run through the process of hopefully help you guys.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just looking through here myself.
All the projects gonna flow, like, is the new website gonna be built while the existing website is still live? And then we can see what it looks like and.
Yes, so it will be on a completely separate platform. So I'll build it and then the go live target is May 1st. That's the goal, and we have an additional week in there for training for the website platform and the accessibility, which the accessibility can happen at any time that works with the Matt and Rosanna, anyone else that wants to attend. But from a perspective from now, I will start design once I get an idea of what you guys want. And when you're looking at that, pages is what I need to know as well. So you've got the links for the PDFs at the bottom, but then if there are certain pages that you're looking at and going, trying to get this down to 8 pages or less. And bear in mind on your links, I wish I could display, it's really difficult for me. But the way your website's designed right now is every single thing you click on looks like a separate page. I'm not thinking about those pages. I'm thinking about all those subs being a page. Just right outside.
Saving your agreements, so I can start redlining.
Well, I've got it up here, but I think you guys get this, there's like columns. I'm thinking of those as pages. So like the board would be 1 page. So we need to get it down to 8. But basically all I need from you is that there are certain things that you know have to go in. I want this no matter what. And I don't care if this goes in and maybe there's a middle you can fit it in. And then from a design perspective, I just need to know, do I have carte blanche on building something that looks amazing and you guys give me feedback? Or do I need to be checking in on what you guys want to see?
I think,
Give them budget, guarantee that.
I never want to stifle your creative instincts. But obviously we do need some oversight. So, I don't, unless it's something really out in left field, I don't see us saying no to a certain thing. But we do need updates at least written updates at the commissioner meetings.
In the milestones, and so after we get an idea of what you want and don't want, then I have until March 20th to do the base design. And then what I will do is send you a preview link and information so you guys can look at it, we put it in the next board meeting, whatever works. And I'm gonna keep going, whether you give me feedback or not, I'm gonna keep going. And then development is supposed to be done by the May 1st. April 24th, sorry, April 24th to do a final approval. And then accessibility is going to be being done through that entire process. So I've already built one accessible website on the platform. I'm comfortable with that, but Matt's going to get with me ahead of time and just, these are things that I really want you to make mine to make my life easier too. So we're going to be doing that side by side, doing the entire development of the site. So when we hit that date, you'll be able to give you your certificate at the same time that we go live. So there won't be a delay on that. This chair wasn't even something else.
Yeah, that's fine.
She would like, because she's gonna be working very closely with Lori and everything to help design the website. She knows that there's going to be times when there's a decision to be made that she's sitting there on Teams meeting or in the office. And you know, she brings everything to this board. She is asking if she can make some executive decisions at the design level. Everything comes here, ultimately, the final designs, you know, launching the website, but she wants to know if she has that authority to be able to make some of those decisions. For example, she says, no, put the link over here, or no, how about a sunrise over here? Are those okay for others?
So that was going to be my suggestion was, I mean, I've got your client gallery pulled up right now, and I mean, I looked at it several times since going through this RP process, but there's a lot of great, you have a lot of great clients that you have, the designs look great, they look like wonderful. So I think the best way is to have that one person so you're not stopped because you need to get approval or you need to bring it here because we're only meeting, you know, twice a month. And there's gonna be, so yeah, I think that Rosanna, you know, as that point person, yeah, I mean, she's not going to steer us in the wrong direction, and you know, we're not going to have you know, unicorns on there where we should have ships or something. I don't know, but
Rosanna always has to. She's texted me and
Yeah.
I'm always there for her to have a question. So, and if I know her, she would love a vote. A motion and a vote to give her that authority.
Wait, do we have that? Do we have that authority?
So
okay.
Policy for this board at all. You're asking your staff to work with this bolster, Lori and Matt to come up with a product that you can create. And I think that's fine.
yes, I'll make a motion that Rosanna is the point person with the executive decision powers to work with Lori and Ms. Bolster on
Designing the website.
designing website.
I second.
She's laughing.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I did want to, I guess, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I was going through Tammy's markup of some of the things that we don't have to have on there. But I do think it's good for transparency purposes to have like the port master plan on there. However, when I pull up the PDF assessment, the master plan is on there as a complexity level 5. So that just means it's going to take, a lot of time. It's going to be a lot of, I guess, time and money for him to go in and make it
ADA
compliant.
So remember, our contract is not open-ended. So it's like, here's your hourly rate, give us a product. And
Yeah.
Woo! We're in the $8,000 budget, and I mean, is there a danger, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yes, there is.
There's a danger that would go over that.
Yes, there is.
See, like, the whole thing, so you gotta make everything.
We estimated to make the 8,000, we estimated $980 for remediation of existing documents, and that's at $80 an hour. My math, what that worked out to, but it is limited, and that is not a ton if we have complex scope documents. The other thing they didn't mention is you have a place on the website for archived documents. It's a very long list. That needs to go away. I just want to make sure you know that we're going to move to a on request, demand on request. We'll do it when someone requests it versus everything being available. So that whole page.
All the old minutes that are older than a year.
I mean, all those minutes that are there, they don't have the website doesn't have that. So, I mean,
Just the agendas?
just the agendas, yeah.
I thought the agendas had to go back a year, but the minutes, you don't think the minutes have to go back a year?
And that's all that's gonna go on going forward, is just the agenda.
I think the most productive way is for master plan. Of course, I recognize those things too, when I was looking through it, is to come up with a list, email them to your list. If you don't have it tonight, if the things when you have a chance to look and say, no, I really think that the directions to the truck drivers need to be there. I think the port master plan needs to be there. And as we get those, if you could do that in the next, 2 days, that would be awesome. And then next week, let's say the middle of next week, I'll assume we've gotten feedback, right? And then we'll start going from there. If there is anything that comes up, let's say a month from now, gosh, I never got to get to that list, but I really think this particular thing has to be, that's okay. We can add it, and we can see where we are in the process.
Right, I think we take those documents, send them to, nail down the documents, send them out, they'll estimate this.
Yeah.
And then he'll be able to tell us.
Before he gets into it.
Exactly, and that's what we've got that built in the plan, to do that process before we actually start doing it.
I think we need to
know
keep,
the documents are.
okay, I think we need to keep in mind, keep it simple. And let's keep it to the matter of fact, what has to be in there to be compliant. Because we all know it's not one of the most highly visited websites out there. So there's no sense in, sitting here trying to squeeze everything we can in there, because basically it's for naught. We're doing this because the government says you got to do it.
The port master plan, if I remember correctly, that may be something that do I have it gone through?
Yes.
I have to check the statute, the master plan doesn't put it on, because that's the chapter 3 or not, but there is, you have to have the goals on there and all that, so.
To stay in business?
Yeah, before the state.
I would start with
Sorry.
start with a must-have, and then we would really like to have this.
That's good.
And then we'll have Matt estimate based on that. And as far as, the website itself, we don't have any worries whatsoever that it will be built to the amount, no matter how long it takes to be. That's just how I build the website, so.
Right, all documents are available via public records requests. But yes, and as we build the website and get our website compliant, remember, it's not like we're doing this once and we can never do it again. Lauren's gonna be she's local, she's in Nassau County. She's around. If we get through this project and we decide there's something we have to add, I'm sure we'll be all enjoy it too.
That was going to be my next question. This $8,000 is just the building and turning on of the website. As far as support or maintenance moving forward, that would be something that we would have to negotiate separately.
This point is, no, that's a renewal.
Oh,
I think I changed it to why I wanted to report it wrong. But in a year. Sorry, no, well, I don't know if I have this 295, but that's good.
for a one-time left.
For monthly homes. So that's OC.
Oh, okay, supposed to be $295.
Yeah, that's all you're committed to for the rest of your life for the website after the 8,000. Now, if you want to hire me to do something, then I have an hourly rate. But Rosanna's also going to be trained, so if it's a minor thing, she can do it. Like, we really don't like this on something, and you have 60 days also after. If you're like, we really don't like that.
Oh, good, like a little marquee.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because my guarantee is that I want to love it. And I realize, you guys are unique in that, but I still want you to have a website you're proud of. And we'll share it with people so that other people will come alive.
Has any of the commissioners seen another port website in Florida that you really like? That might help Florida too. I mean, if there's something that's jumped out with you. If not, okay.
Port of Jacksonville's really awesome.
Jacksonville is awesome.
But I'm sure they pay a lot of money.
So they
for
pay a
it.
little more than-
They pay a little more than 8,000.
But I mean, it's something to say like, this is the presentation you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want all that for $8,000.
Oh, good, she's giving us a discount.
Gives you $9.
I
I forgot I didn't schedule it on this.
Okay.
So Pierre, from a budget standpoint, contracting budget standpoint, since the work would be completed in next fiscal year, would that be on the 8,000 be on next fiscal year's budget, or would it be on this fiscal year's budget?
So it's pretty good by May.
Yes,
Yeah.
this year.
Oh, man.
That's okay, she thought she had to be done by.
Okay.
April 1st.
No, April 27th.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. Then you're.
Okay.
If all goes well, and I'm hoping all goes well.
We're talking about getting something done early. That brings a smile to my face.
How was that happening?
I don't know. Any further comments, questions, concerns?
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you for coming and bearing with us.
Maybe next time won't be doing that.
Yep, that's fine.
All right, moving on to the C, 12C. Grant matching letter agreement. I know we still have the crane
Yeah,
replacements out there, and we still got the gates. Did you get any feedback? Nothing?
The CBP, grant that application that was on hold at our last meeting. And I suggested pulling it so we get matching commitment from the operator. That's gonna be due in March, so we know what's going on.
And I believe there was conversation at the last meeting about the cranes and the gates to go ahead and put that on an agreement, because we've already approved it as a board.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We have a call, I pitched at, modification frame grant agreement. I've called the FDOT since then. We're gonna have a call on Friday to go over, where I think I might pitch it again, but basically the grant agreement as stands references a brand new crane. Lead times are long, a brand new crane is $8 million, it's a $1 million grant. I've gone out, did, kind of a three-tier approach, systems and electronics, and then motors for structural, and then spot paint. Got a competitive quotes, put together a package, and that's what I pitched at. I've got a good feeling we're going to get that modification 6 grant. So in very basic terms, what that means is the grant will now allow us to rebuild them. And the cranes with that grant, which we're willing to put up. I think that's use of state funds. I think that's use of our funds. It fulfills the purpose. Utility rebuilds on the big cranes there now. I think FDOT's can go along with it, because at the end of the day, they were the sponsor of the cranes in the first place. But he can tell you the cranes that they're, as of now, the cranes are on operation and just keep breaking over and over and over and over. So we're kind of in the road for saying, so we think this is I've got a good feeling that Friday's going to go well, and sign off on it. We'll get that grant, do it modified, we'll fast track it with there.
I read over your proposal. I didn't see anything wrong, and I think it's, as far as the usage of the cranes, you'll never in this lifetime justify an $8 million crane sitting out on the docks. Never. But what you came up with is what I looked at as practical. It's a practical fix, especially the painting. Painting is the life of those cranes. other than operational maintenance. You've got to keep them covered. So I didn't see anything wrong with that. So that's the proposal you're going to take to FDOT?
So we, and Commissioner Moore was talking about.
Yeah.
That we pitched it, you know, the guys we pitched to, lower level staff. They've now pitched it their bosses, and now they want to hear, I think, straight from me on Friday. And the good thing is I talked about the same so much, I got it memorized, so I can do it right now if I need. But I've gotten, I don't want to go too far on that, but I've got a really good feel it's going to be pretty well, and which means I've got the money already allocated. As soon as we get the, as soon as it's funding, of course, let's go and start awarding PO.
I think it would be money well spent.
Yeah.
And it would be smart money.
Yeah, then we can, tackle the other crane next, tackle those mobile harbor cranes, get these things reliable, and, we don't need Cadillacs, but I need a Kia though, at least.
You need an operational crane when that ship pulls up that won't break down and cause multiple problems. Okay. Let me ask you something on the mobile harbor crane. I know I've been out there. I'm not seeing much operation with it. Are we at least firing that thing up? And okay, because when I come by and it's not running and I just see it sitting there, I know that's the worst thing in the world for those cranes. The moisture builds up in the electronics and it just goes on and on and on from there. Okay. All right. All right. So getting back to the crane, to the letter, getting back to the letter. You said you were going to get with your folks on looking that up or going over it. Is there a reason that Relay doesn't want to do the agreement that we came up with, the letter?
I draw up the draft, it was that.
Didn't I say, it looks good to me? I think so, dude.
Okay, if it looks good to you, then it looks good to you. No, it's okay.
I think what the question was can we go ahead and sign one for the crane because that grant's already been applied for, and the automated gates. That way we have.
Yeah, three grants.
Okay.
But
And the CBP grant.
I'm hoping that we get a modification that I'm going to go solid.
Is it gonna be a different grant agreement number?
Grant agreement, but the narrative.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm.
Just make sure that it's looked at.
Then you open.
Yeah.
Hanging out there, and you need a meter.
Honestly, it's working.
Yes. Whoever's gonna find your company, yeah. And the one that's out there is the customs.
Yes.
Border protection. So we have to.
CBP.
Work it off the problem, because we have a grant agreement to do in March, and we need to know whether there's going to be matching funds. If there's not, there's not, that's probably not the outcome, but we just need an answer, so Rosanna.
Yeah.
One of the funds.
And we talked about CBP, but we have a 4-year. How to spend that money, right? That's what I heard.
Federal grants. They're all different. I don't know what the time frame is for expenditure.
The CBP is a DOT, I'm pretty sure. We didn't get any federal money for that.
Okay, then it's.
The legislature allocated.
Okay, yeah. For the grant purposes, there are two balls in the air. There's the CBP purposes, which this has been dragging on since at least 2018.
Right.
And then
we got the language qualified, so I have no call.
Oh, good, perfect.
Because remember we got the narrative too.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
Super.
you can use it for planning and
And
construction.
yes.
Got it. Okay, good. All right, we're on a roll. I got three agreements with them. Or, whatever that is, or not.
You got covered. Yeah.
We could do, I don't know how to set it up. I can send you.
No, this should be it, this, the DocuSign.
But yeah, I
Is
do.
it?
Yeah, yes. There's a DOT meeting Friday. I know we're out of order, but.
No,
Ted, that's the one you're referring to?
Is that a Zoom meeting or is that?
Everybody's aware.
I am not aware of that.
yeah,
Make-
exactly.
Oh, did it?
Okay.
Okay,
It's a dynamic one.
okay, yeah, make sure that, I may have already accepted it. I may not have.
Well, I'm forwarding this.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, anything further? All right, moving on, the OHPA meeting calendar. I was made aware that the PEC Center will not be available for June and July. So I'm glad they at least let us know so we can make some other arrangements. I have an idea and I will step out on that one. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I'll be prepared to bring that to you at the next meeting. It will be in the vicinity. We're not going to go to the west side of the county. Okay, some of you should already.
Yeah.
Uh,
Why shouldn't we go to the west side? We don't do anything.
So I was waiting.
well, I was going to try to give you a reprieve. Okay, this came to me the other day, and actually somebody had heard about it and came to me and said, "What about?" And I said, "I happen to know that person, so let me go talk to him, and I'll bring you the information back."
Well, so we, yeah, I mean, we had I think 2 meetings there last year. They were great. I think the sound quality was a little better, a little nicer. So,
Yeah.
I tried to sell you a hotel room, but it didn't work. But yeah, I just need to make sure, we got the dates to make sure that we don't have anything that day or those days. If that's the case, then so I'll come back to the next meeting and I'll let you know.
If you'll check, I'll check with mine, and if we're given the green light for mine, then we'll give you the reprieve.
Perfect.
If I'm thrown out the window, then I'll just have to say we got to go there.
Perfect.
But you're
Okay.
This,
Um,
even Monday, that's.
listen, I can only so many, so many times.
All right, so we got that. We'll address that at the next meeting. Moving on to 13, we will defer that to the next meeting. Court Commissioners items. Mr. Cole, do you have anything? All right. Mr. Taylor?
Just congrats to Tammy for being, appointed to the Nassau County Economic Development Board. Excited for you. Thinking about Rosanna while she's away. And then, Valentine's Day, gentlemen, a few days away. So I hope you're ready. I'm not. But,
I'm looking forward to getting flowers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I have 29 years, but I'll say.
All right.
Just one thing I want to bring up for the attention of the board. We still have that property on Front Street. In our financial situation, I think it's important that we consider all revenue streams. That is a prime piece of real estate. I'm not looking to sell it or anything like that, or suggesting that we sell it. But I think we need to look at ways of monetizing that. There are grants out there, non-marine related grants through they're through a number of agencies, but there's one particularly which is a rural development grant, and we do fit their definition of rural through the U.S. Department of Agriculture that allows for feasibility studies at a 100% payment rate. They're small grants, $100,000 or less. So I'm going to be doing some additional research on those, and then coming back to the board about perhaps suggesting that we move forward on that to take a systematic look at what we can do with that property to bring revenue into the Ocean Highway and Port Authority.
Yes, so Rosanna had emailed us the Select Florida email, that we need to appoint a commissioner to serve to Select Florida, and this is a relatively new agency. It's the international phase. It's like, I think it's like the new Florida Commerce. So it's the next meeting is virtual February 24th, and they have a quarterly meeting March 25th in Niceville, followed by a June 1st meeting in Miami. They've asked for the commissioner serve. I also hope that Rosanna will be able to attend because she's a good common thread for all of these different meetings. But I didn't know if any of the other commissioners are interested in serving, what your work schedules would need to select some. So,
When do they need to know by?
well, February 24th is the next virtual meeting, and it's Chairman Nick Primrose.
Yeah, from Jacksport. Yeah, Select Florida was briefed at FSTED. They're very ambitious, but they do move, or they are forceful in getting Florida out there internationally. They go to places like United Kingdom, Taiwan, South Korea, Cannes, France, Singapore, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Nashville, Dusseldorf, Amsterdam, and Dubai, and that's just next year's international schedule. Now, obviously, they have the meetings within Florida for board members. They said you're certainly welcome to attend any of those meetings and trade shows as part of the delegation, provided you're willing to foot the bill yourself.
So we just need a commissioner to call into the remote meeting.
Do we have anybody that's willing to sit in on it? Commissioner Moore?
I'll do it.
Okay, Commissioner Moore, thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
I have one more item, or two more items. So I spoke at the Sunrise Rotary during our break between meetings, and there was a great turnout. There were good questions for they did ask some questions about customs report. It's a hot button issue, and they were locals were interested in tent, when is the tent going to move, and they were also asking about the lights. One of the neighbors was a Rotary member, and she said that the warehouse lights point into her apartment. She lives next to Wicked Bow, and then I had the occasion to talk to Natalie at Wicked Bow because I like dumplings, and she said that she likes the lights. So it's one of those things where some of the neighbors and businesses appreciate security, and the residents want the lights to be slightly turned, or maybe it's not in their window. But anyway, I said I would pass that along. She hasn't sent me a picture of the specific light, but I think it might be the second light in the warehouse. I don't know. But I promised her I would send to her. And then I will be at the TPO board meeting tomorrow in Jacksonville. And let me make sure there's nothing that Rosanna wanted to raise.
Well, she's looking for that. Okay, who seconded the motion that Vice Chair Brown made for Rosanna?
He made the motion. I second. Me and Commissioner Hill jointly.
Yeah, there were 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was a joint second. It was a second and third.
So Taylor, I requested for Rosanna to share with you a scholarship that Jacksport is funding for Mr. James Bennett, who was the COO at Jacksport, and tragically he was killed in a car accident on his way to the port, 7 o'clock in the morning on I-10, when there was an 18-wheeler accident that caused a backup, and he and Mr. Bennett's car was stopped, and an 18-year-old, I don't know the circumstances, but driving east at 7 AM, did not ever tap the brakes. And he was tragically killed, left behind family, children, but he was a really excellent individual. Folks who knew him, I only engaged with him a couple of times, and I walked away with a very positive impression of his integrity, his enthusiasm. He was self-deprecating. He came prepared with a list and a presentation about Jacksport every time he was at the TPO meeting. And his loss was just profoundly felt on that board. So there are several organizations in and around the FDOT and transportation community that will probably be donating to the scholarship fund. I personally made a donation to the scholarship fund. I asked that Rosanna share that link with you all. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's an outpouring of support from folks in and around transportation, just because he touched so many different folks in the community and is so well regarded. And the scholarship is positive. It's specific to transportation and logistics students at UNF, which we're always looking at ways for, like, what are we doing to help the next generation of transportation professionals and interest in the profession. So anybody that's interested in learning more about that or potentially supporting it, I think that those scholarship kids, the recipients that get those grants, you know, if you're interested in them coming out to the Port of Fernandina and visiting the port, or, you know, if you want to offer for a scholarship recipient to be able to come and spend a day shadowing the stevedores, those are the types of things that make those scholarships truly transformational, not just, you know, $10,000 toward tuition, but truly shaping, you know, their lives. And so I talked with Jeff Sheffield about the scholarship, and he said, we have a great relationship with UF, with UNF, with these local universities to solve real world problems. They're doing it for FDOT, they're doing it, you know, for other local agencies, for the port. And he said, please, please, please give me ideas for what we could take to Smart North Florida and to these scholarship